Let me tell you a tale from the wandering world of cultivators. A tale where thunder once roared across the heavens, and a certain alchemist unexpectedly discovered that fate had already tied a knot he never intended to tie. It began with a sentence so shocking that even Ling Han, calm as a mountain most of the time, nearly spat blood. "This is your son." The words dropped like a thunderbolt. Ling Han froze, then instantly choked and waved his hands in frantic denial. Hold on, hold on. Don't throw accusations around like flying daggers, he protested. Our relationship might be somewhat complicated, but I am still a pure man, a virgin. How could I possibly have a son? If you're looking for someone to raise a child out of kindness, I might help, but don't try to make a fool out of me. Across from him, Helion Shui Shui's eyes blazed like cold lightning beneath her veil. With the strength of a sea dragon, she grabbed Ling Han by the chest and lifted him off the ground as easily as lifting a chicken. "Are you blind?" she snapped. "Look carefully. Does this child not resemble you exactly? He's the spitting image of you." Ling Han blinked and finally turned his gaze toward the infant. The boy lay bundled in soft cloth, staring with wide, bright eyes. Ling Han leaned closer, then frowned. Truthfully speaking, this body of his, this body from his second life, was still unfamiliar to him. In this lifetime, he had barely looked in the mirror. Most of his sense of self still belonged to the appearance from his previous life. For a moment, he scratched his head in confusion. If he had children in the future with the heavenly phoenix divine maiden or Jushuan would the child resemble the man he once was, or the body he had now? The more he thought about it, the more chaotic the situation felt. Meanwhile, Helion Shui's temper flared even hotter. She shook him fiercely. "Stop daydreaming. Listen carefully," she said through clenched teeth. "This is your son. Raise him properly. When I return, if I discover even a single strand of hair missing from his head, I will mince you into pieces and feed you to the fish." Ling Han raised both hands helplessly. "Fine, fine," he sighed. "For now, I'll accept that he might be my son." "Not might." She cut him off sharply. "He is your son." Ling Han rubbed his forehead in frustration. "But when exactly did this happen?" he said. "I don't recall doing that with you." At those words, a faint blush crept across Helion Shui Shui's face. Thankfully, her veil concealed it. She muttered in a low voice, "Have you forgotten the incident at the Thunderclap Ninth Heaven?" Ling Han froze. In his mind, the memory resurfaced. That reckless girl had rushed straight into the terrifying Thunderclap region while they were pursuing the Thunderclap Ninth Heaven technique. He had tried to drag her back, but the raging thunderstorm swallowed them both. Lightning had torn their clothes apart. Their bodies had been thrown together in the chaos of crackling thunder and violent wind. At the time, survival had been their only concern. Ling Han's eyes widened. Could it be that in the midst of that thunderstorm, something had happened? His heart cried out miserably. My virginity. To lose it in such a blurry, half-conscious state. What a tragic fate, he stammered in disbelief. One time, and it worked? That accurate? Helion Shui immediately flared up again. "You think I wanted this?" she snapped. Her fist lifted instinctively, though she restrained herself at the last moment. "After I returned to the sea race," she continued coldly, "I discovered I was pregnant. I hid myself away to give birth in secret, but the truth was eventually exposed." Her expression darkened. "Now both my clan and the Xianyu royal clan are hunting me down. Two great forces want my head. Otherwise, why would I come looking for you to raise the child?" Ling Han fell silent. He didn't ask why she hadn't aborted the child. Instead, he looked down at the baby in his arms. A strange warmth spread through his chest. A son. His son. In his previous life, Ling Han had been obsessed with alchemy. Countless beauties had thrown themselves at him, yet he had ignored them all like drifting clouds. But now, in this second life, his own flesh and blood lay in his arms, and invisible bonds stirred within him. He felt excitement, awe, something profound. "I already have a son?" he murmured. Helian Shui Shui snorted coldly. "My apologies that I only gave you a son," she said sarcastically. "I didn't manage to give you a daughter as well, so you could have both." Ling Han burst into laughter, overflowing with joy. "That's fine," he said casually. "We can have another one later." Helian Shui Shui's eyes instantly turned murderous. She grabbed him again and lifted him into the air. "You still want to do me?" Ling Han secretly admired himself. So this was what it felt like to be a man who had conquered a dragon. He patted her arm calmly. You've already given birth to my son, he said seriously. That means you're part of my Ling family now. From today onward, stop running around, stay home, and raise our child properly. Helian Shui Shui snorted coldly, overbearing as ever. Then her voice turned grim. Don't misunderstand. If I weren't being hunted by 2 royal clans, I would never appear before you again in this lifetime. She glanced at the child. You take care of him. I know you possess a spirit tool capable of storing living beings. If the child stays there, no one will find him. Her eyes grew distant. I will lure the pursuers away. If I survive, you will return the child to me. She paused, and after that, we will have nothing to do with each other ever again. Ling Han's temper finally ignited. What nonsense are you talking about? He said sharply. Without me, could you have produced this child alone? He stepped forward, gaze blazing. I don't care how that night happened. The fact is, you are my woman now. You have borne my son. And you think I will simply stand by and watch you die? For a brief moment, Helian Shui's heart trembled. But she quickly hardened herself. You don't understand the power of those clans, she said coldly. The Helian clan alone has more than 30 shattering void tier elites and several hundred heaven tier cultivators. And that's only one clan. Ling Han merely shrugged. Compared to the ancient sects he knew, such numbers were not particularly terrifying. Then he smiled. You only know that I possess a spirit tool capable of storing living beings, he said. But you don't know just how powerful that treasure truly is. He extended his divine sense. Relax. Don't resist. Let me show you. Helian Shui hesitated, but in truth, she didn't want to separate from her child either. After a brief moment, she nodded. Fine. Ling Han wrapped his divine sense around mother and child. The next moment, the world shifted. They entered the Black Tower. Helian Shui gasped. This! Before her stretched an enormous world. Mountains, rivers, sky, a vast realm like a hidden universe. This is practically a mystery realm, she exclaimed. Ling Han grinned proudly. When I enter here, the spirit tool itself shrinks to the size of a mustard seed, he explained. Even shattering void tier experts would never discover it. Only then did Helian Shui realize something. So that mysterious disappearance the first time she attacked him, it had been because of this treasure. After a long silence, she nodded. Fine, she said. I'll hide here for 10 or 20 years. Once the storm passes, I'll leave. At that moment, yeah! The baby woke up. His bright eyes blinked curiously. Seeing Ling Han holding him, he didn't cry. Instead, he stretched out his chubby hand and grabbed Ling Han's face with a cheerful grin. Ling Han's heart melted instantly. He leaned forward willingly. The baby laughed loudly, happily rubbing his father's face like it was a toy. Ling Han chuckled. This little fellow is strong, he said proudly. He'll definitely become someone extraordinary. That wasn't empty praise. Even as a newborn, the child's strength already rivaled someone at the 9th layer of the body refining tier. Helian Shui lifted her chin proudly. Of course, she said. His true dragon bloodline is even stronger than mine. Ling Han waved dismissively. Nonsense. Clearly he inherited the superior bloodline of the Ling family. Helian Shui nearly lost her composure. How shameless could this man be? Humans couldn't possibly possess a true dragon bloodline. Just then, wah! The baby began crying loudly. Ling Han panicked. What's wrong? Helian Shui rolled her eyes. Our son is hungry. She took the child back into her arms and prepared to feed him. Then she noticed Ling Han still standing there, her eyes narrowed. Why aren't you turning around? Ling Han shrugged casually while turning away. It's not like I haven't seen it before, he said lazily. Besides, it's flat anyway. Who wants to look? Behind him, Helian Shui's teeth ground together furiously. For the second time that day, she felt the overwhelming urge to kill someone. The quiet space within the Black Tower felt strangely peaceful, almost detached from the turmoil of the outside world. Helian Shui sat calmly, nursing the small infant in her arms. Yet her thoughts were anything but calm. A single question drifted through her mind again and again. If she had to stay beside Ling Han for an entire day, would that insufferable man drive her mad? Before she could dwell further on the thought, Ling Han's voice suddenly rang out nearby. They've caught up. His tone was casual, but his eyes were already sharp with alertness. You stay here for now, he said to Helian Shui. I'll bring the others in. The moment the words left his mouth, his figure flickered, and he vanished from the black tower. Outside, Hu Niu and the rabbit had already rushed over. The instant Hu Niu saw him, the little girl leapt forward like a streak of lightning. Ling Han! She slammed straight into his arms with a cheerful cry. Ling Han laughed and steadied her before asking, "Where's Xuan Er?" Hu Niu shrugged dramatically. She didn't want Ling Han anymore and ran away. Let's go already. We don't want that heartless woman. All day long, Hu Niu had been secretly plotting how to chase Jushuan Er away from Ling Han. Ling Han merely chuckled. Through the eye of truth, he had already seen the truth. Not far away, Jushuan Er was rushing toward them with anxious steps. Ling Han walked forward to meet her. When Jushuan Er finally saw him standing there unharmed, the tension that had filled her heart all day suddenly melted away. It was as if a great stone had been lifted from her chest. Hu Niu, seeing this reunion unfold, spread her hands in disappointment. Ah, not fun at all. She even bit her fingers in regret. If only she had acted a little earlier, then perhaps Zhu Xuaner would already be gone. Where is Miss Helion? Zhu Xuaner asked once she had calmed down. She's inside the Black Tower. Ling Han replied. He paused briefly before adding with a faint smile, I'll take you all to see her, and also my son. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. What? Hu Niu and Jushuan both stared at him with wide eyes. Son? Since when did Ling Han have a son? Even the rabbit was stunned, but only for a moment. Then he clapped his paws together happily. Congratulations. Congratulations. Red packets, please. Ling Han scratched his head helplessly. To be honest, he himself had only just learned about this matter not long ago. Without further explanation, he waved his hand, and in an instant the group vanished into the Black Tower. His divine sense swept across the space. Helian Xunshui had already finished feeding the baby. Ling Han guided the group toward her. The moment Hu Niu saw Helian Xunshui holding the child, her little face darkened. Big silly girl! She glared fiercely. This hateful woman had secretly given birth to Ling Han's child. Helian Xunshui had long sensed Hu Niu's hostility. She only smiled calmly and replied lightly, Little girl, a perfect counterattack. What a cute baby, Jushuan said gently. Her eyes softened as she looked at the infant. May I hold him? Helian Xunshui nodded and handed the child over. The baby rolled slightly in Jushuan arms. Then he opened his mouth and instinctively leaned toward her chest and bit. Jushuan face turned bright red. She hurriedly pulled the child away in embarrassment. The baby failed to get his meal and instantly burst into loud crying. Ling Han couldn't hold back his laughter. Hai Niu, look, even our son has rejected your flat chest, he sighed dramatically. I really pity the little guy. Perhaps he hasn't been eating his fill? Ling Han, do you want to die? Helian Xunshui's face immediately darkened with fury. Ling Han quickly scooped the baby back into his arms. Looking down at the tiny face, he asked, Has the little fellow been given a name yet? Helian Xunshui shook her head. No. Ling Han nodded in satisfaction. Good. Otherwise, I'd have to smack you. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. This boy is the son of Ling Han. In the future, he will surely become the most formidable figure in the world. Hu Niu immediately raised her hand excitedly. Call him Ling Niu Bei. Ling Han coughed. Well, it does sound impressive, but that name is a little too high profile. Hu Niu frowned, thinking hard. Then call him Ling Gao Shou. Jushuan couldn't help interrupting. How about Ling Jianshui? Helian Xunshui snorted softly. The name actually carried meaning. Ling represented Ling Han. Shui represented her. And the word Jian connected the two. Yet the thought of Ling Han being involved in the name still annoyed her slightly. The rabbit chimed in again. I think Ling Dabao sounds good. Helian Xunshui rolled her eyes. How could every single one of them be so unreliable? Enough, she said decisively. Let's just call him Ling Jian Shui. At least that sounded like a proper name. Ling Han frowned. This was his first son. How could his son's name be decided without even asking his opinion? And what name would you suggest? Helian Xunshui shot back coldly. Look at the names you've already given. Hu Niu, Xiaoxi, Hai Niu. It's better if you don't interfere. Hu Niu immediately puffed up angrily. Niu's name is very good. Helian Xunshui and Jushuan both smiled politely. Of course it is. Hu Niu bared her small white teeth threateningly. What are you laughing at? Do you think Niu's name is bad? Good. Of course it's good. Ling Han quickly lifted Hu Nu into his arms. Our Hu Nu has the best name. In the future, she'll grow into a beautiful girl that everyone loves. Even flowers will bloom for her. Hu Nu instantly beamed with pride and wrapped her arms around his neck. Ling Han is the best. Ling Han chuckled softly. Then his expression gradually turned serious. How did you cross over here? He asked Helian Sunshui. Wasn't there a regional barrier? Helian Sunshui waved her hand dismissively. That barrier was merely created by shattering void tier elites. Anyone with a level 10 spirit tool could cross it easily. Ling Han's eyes brightened. You have a level 10 spirit tool? Helian Sunshui lifted her chin proudly. The bloodline of the sea race is far beyond your imagination. Ling Han smiled slightly. Then the sea race must also have records about the reckoning that occurs every 10,000 years. Helian Shunshui's eyes widened. How do you know that? Ling Han shrugged. I'm your man. Of course I'm extraordinary. This time, Helian Shunshui did not deny it. Instead, she spoke calmly. I plan to search for the Vial of Curses. Once I obtain it, I will unify the Northern Sea and gather the power of the entire ocean to resist the reckoning. Ling Han slowly shook his head. I'm afraid you still don't know the true purpose of the reckoning. Helian Shunshui frowned, and what would that be? Ling Han began explaining the truth about the realm pill. As his words unfolded, Helian Shunshui's expression gradually changed. Shock, then disbelief, then profound realization. After a long silence, she finally exhaled. No wonder history contains so many gaps. I had only pieced together fragments by studying countless ancient texts. So this is the truth. Suddenly her face changed again. The Imperial clan. They have existed for thousands of years, possibly even forever. Could they also be involved in this? Ling Han's brows knitted together. If they truly exist forever, then they may already be accomplices of the immortal realm. Otherwise, they would have to be in existence beyond the reckoning itself. Helian Sunshui slowly shook her head. I'm afraid the first possibility is more likely. I have proposed resisting the reckoning many times, but every time the Imperial clan suppressed the idea. They clearly don't want trouble. Ling Han stroked his chin thoughtfully. So our enemies are not only the 5 great sects, but also the Sea Race's Imperial clan. He looked at Helian Shunshui. How powerful are they? Her answer came without hesitation. Extremely powerful. There are said to be hundreds of shattering void tier elites within the Imperial clan. They are worshipped by the 4 seas and can mobilize the power of the entire ocean. The sea was vast, far larger than the lands ruled by humans. Countless creatures lived within its depths, and countless spirit herbs grew beneath its waves. In truth, the overall strength of the sea race surpassed that of humanity. The only reason they had not conquered the mainland was because they preferred the ocean's environment. Ling Han slowly fell silent. Originally, the Purple Moon Empire only had to face the 5 great sects. But now, a far greater force might be looming on the horizon, the sea race, and behind it, the terrifying Imperial clan.